Welcome to Hameen Royale. This is Eric Grissom.
And I'm Dan Johnson. Eric and I will be rewatching the iconic Twin Peaks from the pilot through the return and everything in between.
If this is your first time watching, or if you're a longtime fan, you can watch along with us as we dive deep into the strange and wonderful world of Twin Peaks.
We live inside a dream.
Today, on a very special episode of Meanwhile, I am honored to sit down with Robert Engels. Of course, Robert Engels was one of the 4 original writers, David Lynch, Mark Frost, Harley Peyton, and Bob Engels. Bob Engels' first episode was episode 4. He went on to write a number of episodes in season 2, as well as producing the show with Harley Peyton. He does On the Air with Lynch and Frost and company. He is the writer of Fire Walk with Me. As you all know, it's a very important film to me, so I was very excited to talk to him about that. We get into some other projects that him and Lynch did. Now, I had to do the interview over a phone as opposed to how we usually do it, so the sound quality might be a little bit different, but I think it's totally workable. Bob had told me about a half hour, but he was gracious enough to extend the time, so we got almost an hour. Friends, it took so much to not ask him about the Leo Bobby drug situation. But listen, I know it's a dumb question. I know whatever answer I'm going to get is not going to change the world. And it's certainly probably going to end with, well, I don't know. I don't remember that. So I did leave that one off. Running under a time constraint, wanted to get the stuff that I felt was the most important. So here you go. Let us know what you think. And without further ado, here's me and Bob Engels. Today, my guest is writer, producer, director, and professor, Mr. Robert Engels. Bob, welcome to Meanwhile. How you doing tonight?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing well. How about you?
I am very excited to get to talk to you. I've been a fan of your work for a number of years, so it's a real treat. It's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. So just to go in the world of Bob Engels before Twin Peaks, is it true that Warren Frost was your professor?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And my professor and advisor and I became good friends with his son Mark. That's how it all happened.
Mark and Scott too.
Yeah, Scott's like a year or two younger, I think. Yeah, he is.
Because Warren's also doing very involved in the theater. Is that how you end up directing and writing for the Playhouse?
Yes, exactly. That's how that all started. I was a theater major in college, and then I had a Bush Fellowship to go to the Guthrie Theater as an actor, but I was also directing at that point. So that's how I know Scott and Mark, and that's also how so many of the 2 or 3 of the guest stars of the Twin Peaks were from the Guthrie.
You were bringing in people left, like I know Lance Davis, right, who played Chet.
Invitation to love.
For God's sake, Emerald. That may be true, but I'm married to your sister now.
Right, Lance is still a very good friend of mine. Yeah, exactly.
Kenneth, a Welsh.
You can call me Wyndham. Wyndham Earl.
Yes, and Donna Haley is still a good friend of mine, and she was married to Ken at that time, or was about to be married to him at that time. So I thought of Ken, and of course, the folks at the Guthrie just flipped that he did. When he was at the Guthrie, people just flipped. And then when I said he was happy to do a Twin Peaks, they went crazy.
What did Warren teach? Was he a theater teacher, or was it English?
Yes,
or
theater teacher. Yeah, directing mostly.
So Mark goes off. He shoots the pilot right with David Lynch.
Right, exactly.
How do they bring you in once they know they're going to series?
Well, it was a really funny story. I mean, I was pretty inexperienced as a writer, and Mark called up and said, I'm doing this thing with David, and I think it's crazy. I think you'd be just perfect for it. So, so I literally drove up to his house, and he actually showed me how to work Final Draft.
Wow.
That's how new I was.
You're credited as writing like 4 episodes of Wise Guy.
Tonight on Wise Guy.
Stem's completely lost it. I want you to take charge of the investigation, Cossack.
All right, then we'll do it my way.
Is that after or is that
It's
before?
sort of during. And what happens was that we did the first season of Twin Peaks, and then there's a delay, right? Well, while you wait for it to go on, and because of that, because of the inside, the news inside the industry was that it was a good show. Uh, David Burke, who was running the show at Wise Guy, asked if I'd like to come write an episode, and then I ended up writing a number of episodes for him, and it got along great with those guys.
What a gift season 1 is, because you write the whole thing, you shoot the whole thing, it's edited all before that first season airs.
Exactly.
So you get assigned one episode 4.
Right.
Do they tell you, like, here are all the major milestones of the season, or are you kind of isolated to just your little?
No, I think at some point it was, Harley, then me, Mark, and David all kind of knew where that was going. You kind of had to know to write the scripts because you had to know what you were setting up, and then of course Mark and David would do a final pass to make sure it all was kosher. You know what I mean?
Right.
All fit into the master plan.
Those 4 opening episodes are really neat too, because you can see, or at least I think I can see, like, where you're kind of finding the characters' personalities. Like,
Right.
especially with Leland and Sarah, there's like in episode 1 in your episode, it's like Sarah's out of sorts and Leland is taking care of her. Even in yours, like, Leland has had enough. He's like, she had 2 visions.
Did you tell them about the necklace? They're gonna love that one.
What necklace?
She's had 2 visions.
The Leland in 2 and 3, he's jumping on coffins.
Don't ruin this too!
And he's dancing with Laura's picture. Like, I understand, like, you must have had, like, these things have to happen plot wise, but did you have freedom for characterization?
Oh, sure. I mean, what would happen is you'd say, on the script you're working on, you'd say, can he do this? Can she do that? Can we go that? And then we'd have a chat about it. Or, where does that, if he or she does that, where does that lead? Do you know what I mean? That was all, because in many senses it was, like constructing a soap opera. I mean, it wasn't, obviously, but that was the thing. Everything was gonna have to play out. Everything you thought up so that it was really David and Mark and Harley and I that would do it. Mostly David and Mark would say that, no, don't do that, do this. He had lots of freedom, but we all kind of, they had to agree that was what was going to happen. They were really, Mark was the showrunner.
Yeah, he's kind of driving everything in that first season.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah.
We talked about, like, you having this, like, bunch of people that you knew in the theater that you were kind of bringing in for different roles and stuff, but also Jill, your wife, is Trudy, the waitress. She's pouring coffee, she's playing piano.
That's
like
right.
You don't have a great Northern without Trudy.
What's with the choir practice?
Business junket from Iceland. Got in about 3 this morning.
Did your relationship start on the show, or did you already kind of know?
No,
her
we were
first?
already married. That was really just I think David and Mark got this idea. Well, we got to find something for Jill.
That's fantastic. Now, did you try to write her into episodes when you could?
Oh yeah. I mean, she's a good actor, but she just sort of fit in. It was so much of that show was that ensemble was so close. It just so many things that just their histories matched, or their the 2 guys that were in
West Side Story.
West Side Story.
Yeah.
I wrote a scene where they sang together at a scene.
Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton, old time there. I'm not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixie. I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, in Dixieland I'll pick my stand and live or cry.
And I was in the office, and I got a call from the set saying you're needed on the set, and they came down and they said, we haven't sung together since West Side Story. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, they were being funny, but they had joked about they would love to sing again, and I did it.
I think that's where a lot of the magic of Twin Peaks lies, especially in the original series, is the fact that you all are either family or friends. Like there's Frosts all over the place.
Oh, completely.
David's putting his son in as the grandson. There's
That's right.
Deschanel's all over the place. Like you can tell, you and your wife Jill, that it is people having fun making art.
Yeah, and it just was, and even the big guest stars. It was like when Diane Keaton came, it was just kind of remarkable how she just fit in, and after a while you kind of forgot who she was in that sense. So that there's a big huge movie star doing this. She was just terrific, and fun to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I could imagine.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if you can solve this little. There's a bit of a mystery in the
Sure.
Twin Peaks about these episode titles. Are you familiar with the episode titles?
No, because they come later. The episode titles were because I think ABC's. I'm not sure.
It's a mystery. I always
Yeah.
heard like when it went to Germany, there was like a German producer and they came up with these titles. But then Cameron Cloutier from David Lynch's world actually reached out to Mark Frost and was like, what's the deal with the titles? And Mark said that he came up with them. And they were like internal titles, I guess, that you guys use. But so you don't have any memory of ever calling your episode the One-Armed Man or
No, and I do think Mark did the titles, yeah, and that was really just because it was going to go to video. They needed to be labeled. It was just simple as that.
All right. So Mark Frost has said like when he and David were typing or putting the story down for episode 1, like after the pilot's already been picked up, they kind of knew who the killer was going to be. And I've heard Jennifer Lynch say right before she was going to write the diary, they told her. When did you learn?
Oh, I bet probably by probably 1 or 2 episodes in, we knew. But it was I think, but it was really a well kept secret. It was really the people you mentioned, and Harley and me. Just because that was it. It just became so popular suddenly that we just said, no, let's just keep it a secret. Let's make sure it works.
Yeah, well,
it was fun.
That's the thing, right? So season 1 comes out. It's a phenomenon. You get a second season. They put it on a lousy night of the week.
Diane, I've had a dream. In it are Laura and an ABC executive. They say they've hidden Twin Peaks. But what night? Finding a killer is child's play compared to cracking this programming's sleight of hand. Finally, I used the rock and bottle test to narrow the choices. Saturday! Who'd think to look for it there?
Twin Peaks, now see it on Saturdays.
And worse, like you have to pump out more than twice as many episodes in less time. Was that pressure as bad as I imagine it would be?
Oh, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's long hours. It's a 7-day-a-week job. You betcha. You know what I mean? You don't get you realize part of you realizes it's kind of once in a lifetime. This is really wonderful. Let's get going on this.
Was it ever not fun for you?
No, never not fun. I had a blast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard, I don't, is this true that you're the one that came up with the idea for Leland to sing Mares Eat Oats?
Probably, yeah. Mostly because my wife is a singer. That is probably mine, yeah.
Oh, there's a dotes and dozy dotes and little lambsy divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Now if the words sound queer and funny to your ear, a little bit jumble and jivey, say mares eat oats and does eat oats and little lambs eat ivy.
I can see, but by that I can see why you and David would bond in the way that you did, or at least that I've heard. I've heard over the course of the show that you two really hit it off and started hanging out.
God.
You would spend time in his office. Like, what drew you guys together? Was it kind of a sense of humor, or what was it?
I think it was the same sense of humor. Yeah, I mean, it was just really fun thing. And then my wife and I and David and his wife, we'd have dinner every Friday night for years, and then when David and I wrote other stuff, we wrote it at his house in his living room. We really became pals.
How did you guys work together? Was it you at the typewriter, kind of him, and you both sort of throwing ideas around and typing it out, or is it just talking?
No, I would sit with the computer and we would like work through a scene or two scenes or an act, and I would take notes, and then I'd go home and write it up more formally, and send it back to him saying, did I miss anything? And then we'd go over it again the next day and then go move forward. It was kind of a really fun process. But it was mostly me. A lot of it was me taking dictation. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right,
He
right.
just
He's
writes out
going
what he
off
said.
on some wild ideas, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I certainly felt that I was contributing, but it was really, Dave and I got along so great. It was just a blast doing it.
There's all this focus now on the show, right? You got Kyle doing SNL, you've got Rolling Stone covers happening. Like there's big spotlights, especially on the cast going into season 2 and while season 2 is rolling along. Are you getting a lot of pressure from actors for either like more screen time or story changes? I mean, as a fan, you always hear about Kyle asking for that Audrey and Cooper storyline to be dropped. But were things like that happening that were affecting kind of the stories you wanted to tell?
Yeah, but not out of the ordinary from the other multiple shows I've done. It wasn't out of the ordinary. It was like that's normal, especially if you've got a hit. Actors will always say, could I do this? Could I do that? Or you'd realize someone had some talent that you didn't know about.
You can have Trudy playing the piano.
Exactly. I mean, it's just if you can do it, let's do it. You know what I mean? It's like I said, we kept trying to find a time for Russ to dance. Because but that was just natural because they were there, and it was such a strange, wonderful world we were in. All that stuff could happen. Do you know what I mean?
Even like a big change, like, okay, you want to put Cooper and Audrey together or whatever was going to happen with that storyline. Losing that, it was just like any other story. You're just moving and finding other
Yeah.
stories that you probably had working anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of it we didn't have it wasn't really thought out what would happen after this. We figured we could figure something out. It wasn't like we were trying to, oh, here's the master plot here, here's where we're headed. That we never had that feeling.
You write the episode where Andy draws the Bob poster. And then in season 2, you write the episode where Leland takes that same poster to the sheriff's station. He even goes
Right.
like it's a Leslie Linka Glatter episode. He holds the poster up to his face.
This man, I know him.
In that same episode, you've got the one-armed man saying, Bob is near.
Are you near?
And then later, it's Jacoby smelling the scorched engine oil, and it ties to the attack in Easter Park.
I smell engine oil at the park. Air is filled with it.
I'm going back to your room at the hospital now.
In hindsight, there's a big, huge spotlight on Leland at this point.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Were you ever concerned, like, from a storytelling perspective, like, people are going to figure it out? I can tell you, as someone who watched it when it aired, I thought it was Ben. I was way off, so it worked on me. But as a writer, were you ever worried?
No, no, because like I said, it was all of us sort of developing the story as it went. So it was like no, it wouldn't. We never really worried about that. Do you know what I mean? It was Mark had done Hill Street Blues, and we certainly all the crime stuff, all that stuff. The two of us knew a lot about.
And it seemed like you guys were inching the audience towards Ben in a way. I'm sure you were
Yes.
multiple characters, but it seemed like clearly Ben was going to be the favorite, and that pays off really well in episode 14. So you're
Exactly.
all on the same page to do that. Like, hey, we're gonna.
Oh, yeah, I unquestionably, yeah, yeah.
So the Laura Palmer mystery ends. So you and Harley Payton at this point kind of shift more into the roles of producer and start co-writing the episodes together.
Right.
How did the
exactly.
two of you how did the two of you balance the work?
We just sort of divvied it up and said, I'll write this, you write that, and it was pretty. Like I said, you're somewhat under the gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like there's no time, right? It's no
Yeah.
time to do anything.
No, No, it was just, yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a lot of work. It was hard work, but it was lots of fun. It's like, it's a hit show. That makes it a lot easier. That's the right way to put it.
Also at this period, so after Leland's, Ray Wise has left the show, the Laura Palmer mystery is resolved, and it enters that period where I have heard like Mark Frost leaves for a few episodes, maybe for a brief stint for Storyville, and then I've heard David Lynch is also prepping for an art show in Japan. Was there ever a time where you and Harley felt like you guys were alone at the wheel?
No, it was, we always kept in touch with David and Mark. That was constant.
So the last episode to air before it gets put on hiatus is another one that I think you co-wrote, episode 23. This is the one where Josie gets trapped in the drawer knob of the Great Northern. I've heard that idea came from David Lynch. And I'm not 100% sure how like the timing works, like how far ahead in production you are to when the episode airs. But was she put in that drawer knob because you knew it may be the last episode while the show was put on hold?
No, I don't know. I don't remember that. Like it probably was that we knew that was the last one, but I think it was David's idea to put her in the donut, just because it screws everything up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What a wild idea! Like I'd love to been in the room when you heard that idea. Like, oh yeah, by the way, this new ending, she's in the drawer knob.
Exactly. I mean, that was just that was the fun of doing the show. You could do stuff like that.
I've read the script for episode 29. Obviously, I've seen the episode. There's big changes to the Black Lodge segment from what you guys did with, Bob was a dentist, and there was the Great Northern was more of like, I'm sorry, the Black Lodge was more like a black and white version of the Great Northern. And there was some other cool things that I want to talk to you about with Fire Walk with Me that I feel like you carried over. But were you surprised, or did you kind of know, okay, this is going to change?
Oh no, once David would shoot it, it's like it could change completely. That was so great about him. He'd see stuff and think of stuff that we wouldn't have thought of in the writers' room, for example. You know what I mean? And David will say, "Well, let's do this. Well, this would be great." You know what I mean? Yeah. How about this?
Hello, friends. I hope you're enjoying my interview with Bob Engels. It's wonderful that I can say that out loud, and it's not me with the hand puppets reenacting. Oh, this is what I would ask. Believe me, there's a lot more people connected with Twin Peaks, of which the puppet theater is very much still in play. But no, we're not here to talk about puppets. We're here to talk about the wonderful Black Lodge supporters that have gone above and beyond. Of course, talking about Chuck Suffel and Gregory Flanagan, and Dawn Adamo, and Banjo Track, Eric Knopp, and Charlie Tapper, and Jake Jagello, Matthew Fuller, David Melito, Daryl Dyson, Dana Gould, Jeff, Henrik E., The Solid Gold Dancers, Concluding Remarks, Brian Johnson, Meerkats, Raga Raven, Evan Fitz, Hazel Haywood, Ivan, William Schaefer. I almost feel like it's like a middle school graduation ceremony. So please hold your applause till the end. For Jordan Carver, Matt W., Nick Webb, Harvey Woodlawn, Kaylin Best Lawrence, and he who is Clem Fandango, aka Luke P. Thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you to everyone that supports our show on the other tiers. Thank you to all the people that have continued to listen, that have reached out, that have said nice things about the show, and have let other people know. So let's get back to it, right? Let's get back to the other half of my interview with Mr. Robert Engels. I'd love to talk a bit about Fire Walk with Me.
Sure.
Full disclosure, like this is probably my favorite movie of all time. I love every line of your dialogue. So just know that as you're talking to me, I'm like doing my best not to just start gushing about Laura and Donna, talking about falling through space, or this would look nice in your wall. So just have that in the back of your head. But you are the perfect writer, I think, to work with David on this film. Like you write the first Twin Peaks episode where we learn as an audience that Laura even has a secret diary. You write the first time David Lynch is Gordon Cole.
Good morning, Gordon. How we doing?
Cooper, where do we start? The Palmer girl or Albert's new best friend, Harry Truman?
you do Bob stuff really well, I find. So it makes sense to me that Universe would kind of put you and him together for this film. But can you tell me what point you knew you were going to be doing the film?
Well, I think it was that um David and I just got along so great. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it wasn't so much. I've never been sort of career oriented in anything, so it was just sort of, we would sit over at his house and cook stuff up, and had a great time doing it. It was never so much, oh well, it never so much like how would this affect the audience, as it was, wouldn't this be cool to see? What if this happens? Because our audience was so solid. I don't think we ever got those big numbers that real hit shows have, but we certainly had a solid audience that to this day still watches.
Do you remember at that time that you guys decided you were going to do Fire Walk with Me? Were you also working on a film called In Heaven? Does that ring
Yes,
a bell?
yes, it does. Yeah.
Do you remember what that was going to be about?
No, but I could. You know what? I'll write that down and let me look up my stuff and look at my notes about what In Heaven was.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always heard that, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's connected at all to Eraserhead or like what the idea behind that was. Because I think of the lyric in Eraserhead with the woman in the radiator.
Right, right. Yeah, let me go back and look at my notes on that. But,
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
You start the movie. Are you still doing Twin Peaks season 2?
I don't really remember. I think it was during the season 2 we started to think about that.
You guys are
I
so
think, yeah.
busy. It's just
Yeah,
everything all at once because on the air is also going to be popping around any minute as
that's
well.
right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
so it's my understanding basically like there's 3 major rewrites. I'm sure there's many, many rewrites, but it's sort of like one with Cooper, one without Cooper, and one with Cooper in a smaller role. And I
Right.
had read that something you had said once that initially it was kind of like a find and replace, like look for Cooper and make it Chet. But
Mhm.
Chet feels so uniquely his own character, like the boxing Sheriff Cable scene, grabbing Deputy Cliff's nose. Were those scenes added like to differentiate the characters, or was there ever a time where Cooper would have been beating up, Sheriff Cable or
Yeah, no, I think it was they're separate. Do you know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
that was just we just thought that would be a cool thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing though to come off of Twin Peaks. You've got a show, you've got Cooper in it, and now you're hearing, oh, Cooper's not in it. Like, was
Yes. Yeah.
that must have knocked you out? Yeah, I hope you tied your shoelaces tight because you're gonna knock your socks off on that one. I think.
Well, that's the thing. It was always, that was the fun of it. It was just so, it could change every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the same thing about, you'd come to the set and there'd be someone, there'd be a movie star there. What's he doing here? You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just that was the most fun. Or being at, I remember I was at David's house once, and we were kind of dinner gathering, and lots of folks, and I was David wanted to listen to something, and I knew where all the CDs were, and I went back to look to see if that piece of music was there, and there was a guy next to me looking for stuff, and I looked over, and it was David Bowie.
Oh wow.
I mean, that's what life was like, you know.
Now this is with the David Bowie. There was that after you had decided he would be Philip Jeffries.
This was before that, yeah. It was
Wow.
yeah, it's just really odd. It was a wonderful experience, you know.
Better be important. Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Chet Desmond, Agent Sam Stanley. Sorry to disturb you, but we need to see Teresa Banks' trailer, please.
Oh, shit. That goddamn trailer is more popular than Uncle's Day in a whorehouse. You see what I mean? It just means more shit I gotta do now.
The thinking about Cooper and like all of a sudden Cooper's not in it, Kyle doesn't want to do it, but he does. Any other artist or filmmaker or whatever, they're going to be like, oh, it's ruined. I got to do something else. But like those roadblocks became new creative opportunities that made for a better world. and a more
Exactly.
interesting story. Like, I love the character of Chet Desmond.
Hmm.
In the film, like, he disappears, right? He's never to be seen again. I had heard at some point in the pre-production, like, there was a chance there was going to be a trilogy, and this would be the Fire Walk with Me would have been the first of 3. Assuming
Oh
that
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true, did you have plans on bringing Chet back in one of those other films?
Oh, I'm sure we did. That was the wonderful thing about that. That world that we created. Anything could happen. You could bring him back for a number of different ways. You could bring him back as somebody else, but the same actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got
But-
Mike and Bob living under a Formica tabletop. Anything is
Yeah.
possible.
Anything's possible. Exactly. I mean, that was the fun. You know what I mean? And that's David. Yeah, that's David.
And you, I mean, you're right there in the middle of it. You're writing movies about former cows that are now humans trying to assimilate. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. I love your work. So talk about Judy.
How interesting. I thought we were going to leave Judy out of it.
Albert?
I've also heard that Judy is named after your wife's sister.
Yes, it
Judy.
is. Yeah. Yes,
Does
it is.
she know that her name has now given birth to hundreds of hours of people like myself just seeing the world through who is Judy and what is Judy? Was she aware of all of that came from that?
Oh God, yeah, yeah, and she's a good sport. You know what I mean? It's worked out great. But yeah, that's my wife's sister. Exactly. Yeah.
You probably had like a lot of ideas of like more stuff that was going to happen in Argentina with Jeffries and Judy.
Oh sure, yeah, yeah.
Were there any ideas about them that you really liked that just didn't come through?
Oh God, I'd have to think about that. I'm sure there were. Do you know what I mean? Because it was such a it was such a free form experience. You could kind of do anything, as long as it worked,
Right.
And yeah, I mean, anytime I'm sure you know this, but anything with a series, anytime there's a character you like, you try to figure out what else could we do with him or her or it, depending. It's just that's a natural.
This Fire Walk with Me story is, it's heavy. It's about abuse. It's incest. It's all these very, very, very dark things. When you're in the middle of writing, did it take you to a bad place? And how did you kind of keep yourself sane?
I think because we would realize that, yeah, this is a real sensitive area, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't get into this, you know what I mean? And quote unquote discuss it, through the script. That was always the plus. You could go places that other shows never went.
Places that people were afraid to look and didn't want to look. And I think that's why it took as long as it did for people to realize what a masterpiece it is. And it is a masterpiece. And I hope you have a little extra kick in your step knowing that the world caught up to Fire Walk with Me. At the time it was unfairly derided, but I think that's been fixed with time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the great thing of working with David is that, we were in our own capsule, kind of. I mean, it was just really a great thing. Nobody was going to tell David he couldn't do something.
That's why the work holds up, because it's so pure and true, and it's driven by the idea and not what you think someone's going to think of that idea.
Exactly. I mean, and it's certainly surprising that its popularity has stayed as it did. But then looking back on it, of course it does, because it was such a unique experience.
Yeah, very few things are like that at all. It was such a beautiful film. I don't know if you remember one of the cut scenes. There's a scene that you have like Laura talking to Doc Hayward, and they're talking about the angels. A listener actually pointed out to me that I hadn't noticed. This guy Dylan says that Donna actually leans over to her dad and whispers, "Laura forgot about the angels. Please remind her."
This isn't a prescription. It's a secret message for Laura.
And that's when he reads that, oh, this is a message for Laura. The angels will return.
Right.
I think that scene is so powerful and telling because it's Donna who's telling her dad. And there's like, it's just like Sarah's got that blue sweater that she's lost, but she's actually wearing it. It's like, it's so important to emphasize that Laura's abuse was something everyone knew, but refused to admit. It was like this thing.
Yep.
And having that scene there, also as like it's nice that she had like a place to go where she sort of felt safe before she had to go back to
Oh,
Leland.
exactly. Yep, exactly. Place to go
Yeah.
where she was safe. Yep. Mhm.
When you saw the cut, like the Mary Sweeney's edit, the final theatrical cut, did you know that there were that many scenes cut?
Yeah, because you're cutting to time and to yeah. You know, that's always television and movies. That's always a killer.
I love that we got the missing pieces so we could see some of those other scenes that you guys put
Yeah.
together.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Especially like that Norma and Ed in the car, like just listening to the radio. What a beautiful moment that is.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I mean, and we had such good actors. I mean, that was another part of it. There were very few of those, very few elements that you had to write around. I mean, they were really good actors.
He surrounded himself with the best people,
He
which is
sure
why
did.
you wrote it with him, my friend.
Well, right.
You were also
Thank you.
You were nominated for a Saturn Award, the two of you.
We were nominated for a Saturn. Yeah, yeah. I didn't win. We won a Golden Globe and we won something else, but I don't remember. David was not big on awards.
It's not that it's meaningless. I shouldn't say it's meaningless because it's nice when you are recognized and it's a nice moment. But it really doesn't mean anything. Like the greatest movies and the greatest films. Fire Walk with Me. I loved Fire Walk with Me when it came out. I know not everybody did, even fans. And it's now become like it doesn't matter at the time that something comes out if somebody
Right.
likes it or don't like it. It's how does that piece of art hold up over time?
You're
Like
exactly right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only way to judge something.
Yeah, it's like it's like lots of movies that it's such a huge world, but I can remember showing um, uh, a class undergraduates of this was like 2 years ago, when I was still teaching. I showed them the way we were, right?
Mhm.
Because they didn't really have I didn't think they had an experience of like who Redford and Streisand were. Do you know what I mean? And that ending when when they see each other across the street at the plaza.
I'm a very good loser.
Better than I am.
Well, I've had more practice.
And that's as that last scene was ending, I could hear in this class of 30 students, I could hear people crying. And they were the ones that didn't want to see it. They thought, well, that's
Yeah.
just that's a piece of shit from years ago. We don't care about that.
Yeah.
And sure enough, at the end, they're all whimpering. You know what I mean? They got sucked right into it. So it's like, don't ever say Robert Redford can't act. Okay.
Do you have a little bit more time? I know you said
sure.
maybe a half
No,
hour.
let's keep
Okay,
going.
because
No, this
I
is fine.
really want to talk about On the Air. Like,
Good. Oh, good.
On the Air is this for people that may not know, which unfortunately is the case because it's very hard to find. You can't really go out and buy this TV show. It was a short-lived surrealist comedy from Frost and Lynch that you guys did kind of right after Twin Peaks, or at least it came out after Twin Peaks. When did that start? Like, were you already
That's a good
doing it in
question.
season 2?
Well, we were probably no, it probably started after season 2 being was probably the scripts were probably done.
Mhm.
And because Mark and David and me and Harley were all pretty funny, it seemed like, well, we should do something that's funny. That's kind of where it came from. Everybody had a good sense of humor, so why not? Let's see it.
Yeah, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. Even though it is like a pastiche of old television and it's not radio, but it feels like, first wave of television when actresses were moving to and actors were moving to television and radio was transitioning to television. It has that feel,
Right.
but it is so uniquely its own thing. Like, so for people that don't know, like it's a show where characters are creating the Lester Guy Show.
It's the Lester Guy Show, starring Lester Guy. Go.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Bob. I'm gonna sound a little nutty, so you got to go with me. But
Okay.
the Lester Guy show within the show has these very pronounced sound effects.
Action! Phone effect. Go.
Hello? Smith resident.
And then the show outside of the show that's on the air that we're watching has these same sound effects.
The Blotnik just pulled up outside. Hey, what are you doing here? Oh, that's how this works.
And outside of that, there's like this narrator telling us about the characters. Like,
Blinky Watts is not blind. He suffers from Bozeman simplex. If we were to see what Blinky is seeing right now, it would look something like this.
so you have all this layering, which seems to me like nested dreams. And you wonder about like the people making the show, being you, are making the show about people making a show. And it immediately makes me, I understand I sound like I'm off my rocker, but I think of immediately of the world of Twin Peaks and stuff that you were doing in Fire Walk with Me with Cooper and Jeffries on the monitor, and then they're not in the monitor at the same time, like this idea of dreams within dreams. And I think for me, the kicker was the fact that the same sound effects are in the show.
Sure.
That they're doing. Like, were those types of thoughts intentionally going into, not that I'm saying I want you to tell me what it means or if I'm right, but
I know
were
what
you
you mean.
thinking in that way?
No, I mean, I think it was just that it was such a we were in such a familiar world that that sound effects and things we'll just do like we did the other time. We'll do that one. We'll do that. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of that was, of course, David, and he was so brilliant where he put things and how he did it. But it no, it was really just we were just comfortable in that world. It was a pretty unique experience.
Like season 2, you're producing. So you're producing with Deepak Nair, like Harley Payton,
Right.
you produced season 2, and now you and Deepak are producing on the air.
Right.
Was it a positive experience for you?
We had a great time doing it, but you always think, especially with comedies, it's so much of it is, how are those first episodes going to be with an audience? And, I always feel so bad for the guys that really, really work in comedy, because that's in some ways that seems much harder to me.
Right. It has to be timed with where the audience is. And unfortunately, the audience, when that came out, was not the best audience in the world. It was way ahead of its time. I think if you came out with that show now, it would do a lot better. The world wasn't ready. Even me, like, I was real into Lynch's work, Wild at Heart. I love Twin Peaks. I love Fire Walk with Me. I didn't understand it when it came out. Like, I watched all of them, but it didn't click with me. And then later, when I've returned to it, it's really clicked with me.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's true. Sometimes when I'll look at an old episode of one of those two shows and think, wow, that was pretty good. You know what I mean? We did think of that.
If you're a Twin Peaks fan, Angelo's doing the music. You've
That's
got
right.
Jack Fisk is directing 2 episodes.
That's right. Yeah.
You write a couple. You write some with David as well.
Yeah.
As I said, I think you made 7. 5 aired in the States, but the rest aired maybe in Japan and maybe Europe.
Something like that. Yeah. And of course, David and I wrote on all of them.
Do you think it'll ever come out? Is there any chance it'll come out?
Oh, I think it will. Yeah. I mean, things have changed so much in the sense of what people have access to now is so much greater than it was 20 years ago. Just the fact of YouTube and cable television and all that. None of that really existed. Well, cable did, but people are looking for those things. You know what I mean? It's like the popularity of outtakes from all sorts of movies. That's a huge world now, and I hope they keep doing that.
Yeah, I hope it does come out. I mean, I don't know. I imagine the rights are with Mark, probably, because you guys own, or they own, Twin Peaks.
Right.
Assuming it's not, maybe it'll find a home. I hope it finds a home. I know you can't get it streaming. You can't buy it digitally. You can't buy it on DVD or Blu-ray. So I really hope it changes, because it's a show more people would like if they had the opportunity to see it.
Yeah, and it's the same as I have in my office at home, I have just piles of dailies, and I keep thinking, I should not, obviously I'm never going to destroy them, but it's like it would be, I don't know how you would. It would be so fascinating for fans of Twin Peaks or the other shows I did to just watch a scene set up. Do you know what I mean? And because so much of it is, it isn't like, well, you know this, but it isn't like the camera's already running before they say, go. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And stuff happens, and you can see, and then they'll stop, and people will start laughing, and I have all those.
Whatever I can do to make that happen, you can supply the extras and the outtakes. Like that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's just so much of that especially with David directing things. It just it was so free flowing, and same with Diane Keaton did the same thing. As did Leslie Glatter. Was great.
She's a fantastic director.
She's wonderful. Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad she's having more success these days. That's great. Anyway, so I mean, there's a world there that it isn't just me. It's anybody that I know that produced television shows has this. They have these just stacks of stuff that it just would be there should be a museum or something where you can go see them or something. Do you know what I mean?
Do you have stuff like that from season 2 of Twin Peaks as well?
Oh, sure. Oh, God, yeah, yeah, yeah. From the first season, I have it too.
Is that so? Whenever they did like those Blu-ray collections and the Z to A box set and everything, did they ever approach you for that material?
No, that really gets reserved to mostly Mark does it now. I think I don't get much approach at all. I've certainly I certainly have been interviewed occasionally about like now, but this interview is great. But most of the time it's. You're welcome. Yeah, it's fun. I'm walking down memory lane here.
Let's walk down next to 2 cows or 3 cows because I gotta know about Dream of the Bovine because this is what I know. I'll tell you what I know, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or what the deal is. But it's about 3 cows who wake up and they're transformed into humans. It's like a reverse Kafka.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that basically it?
That's basically it. Yeah.
And Harry Dean Stanton would have starred in it. I've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Marlon Brando.
Yeah. David got to know Marlon Brando. I think they knew each other. That was, it's such a small community in that sense. Do you know what I mean? It was, I met more people through dinner with David than you can imagine. I mean, it was just remarkable. It was just, he was a blast. I think both David and I had just financially had to go different places, and it kind of sat for a while, and we always meant to go back to it. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't like it. It just it was sitting, and then we both kind of did other things, and then we never got back to it. It's kind of a tragedy. You know what I mean? It wasn't like we had a great time doing it, and we liked it, and certainly people would, if David wanted to make it, we would have no trouble casting it.
Were there any others like that projects?
Yeah, we had lots of ideas. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but we had, we always were fiddling with things from, I introduced, well, I don't know if I introduced it, but, I'm a big Preston Sturges fan. And so I remember we watched all of Sturges' movies at David's house. I showed him all of them, and we were certainly going to do something like that.
You haven't been hitting the bottle lately, have you?
Of course he hasn't. Anybody's apt to trip.
Not over a sofa.
You know what I mean? He loved that. It wasn't like we were looking for work. You know what I mean? We were looking for ideas.
Yeah. I mean, well, it sounds like you guys were really close and good friends.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'll say, yeah.
Do you have any stories that you would want to share about David or hanging out in his office on the set of Twin Peaks or just working with him as a collaborator?
Well, one of the funnier things I was just thinking about as I was thinking about talking to you, I remember we went to a restaurant once. We'd go out to eat a lot, and I can't remember the restaurant. My wife would. If we talk again, when we talk again, I'll have my wife remind me which restaurant it was. But it was kind of packed, and we got there, and they said there's just one table open, and the guy pointed to it, and it was right below a big sign that said no smoking. And David said, absolutely, let's take that one. And we got over there and we sat down, and David and I lit up cigarettes.
Oh, that's great.
I have to ask you to stop smoking. Put that cigarette out.
make me. Did you watch The Return?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because there is that scene with Richard Horde smoking right by the no smoking sign in the booth of the Roadhouse.
Yeah.
What did you think of The Return? Was it strange for you to...
Oh, yeah, a little strange, but it was fine. I mean, I wasn't, I'd moved on. It was fine. I don't have anything to say about it. When all of that ended, David and I and our wives stayed friends. And, I was doing a show in Canada, and I remember I smuggled cigars back for David. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the beauty of Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is Twin Peaks as a collective, but it really is these unique mini worlds that are all connected with common DNA. Like the original series is the original series. Fire Walk With Me is very much self-contained, masterpiece, as I've said.
Yeah.
And The Return is The Return. And The Return owes probably more to Fire Walk With Me in a lot of ways in what you wrote with that script and all of the ideas that fed into The Return. But they're kind of unique ideas. So, Mark's books, he's got The Secret History of Twin Peaks.
And we all had a different experience. Do you know what I mean? It was a wonderful time, just great.
Well, speaking of a wonderful time, I had a wonderful time talking to you. I got to tell you, the show meant so much to me.
Great.
It changed my DNA. Yeah, like I wouldn't be who I am without. I was 15 and 16 when I saw it, when it aired.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've been following that world since. And I don't know if you're ever open to it, but I'd love to talk again because we're going to watch all of the episodes of On the Air. So sometime in the future, if you just wanted to do another short talk about some more of your experiences after I've had some time to really dive in, that would be great.
I'm happy to do it. Let me know. Happy to do it. I love it. It takes me down memory lane, which I like.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, let's stay in touch.
All right, Bob, this was a pleasure.
Oh, same here. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Meanwhile podcast with Dan Johnson and Eric Grissom. If you would like to support the Meanwhile podcast, join our Patreon. It's available right now. You can sign up, and for just a few dollars a month, you can keep this show going, and you can get access to some exclusive podcasts and some secret stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you'd like to join, go to ericgrissom.com/meanwhile and look for the Patreon link. If you like our show, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're hearing this now. Meanwhile is produced by Eric Grissom and Where's My Robots? The Meanwhile theme song is written and performed by Paul Finn and Evening Pines. If you want to let us know what you thought of the show, you can reach Dan at danjnj.com, both on the web and on Blue Sky. Eric can be found on Blue Sky at ericgrissom.com, which is also his website. It's also me, right? That's weird. We'll see you again. And in the meantime, be good.
Listen to the sounds.
Meanwhile.